the honor to introduce to you Mr. Melvin.
Okay, give it a sec. Where my camera people set up. I feel so fancy. I don't usually have camera people. I perform at a bar and like barely get my time. So I'm excited to get some film. You got it? Yeah.
Those angles.
There we go. All right. Oh my God, stop. Okay, we're good? Okay. Let's just, I'm pretty mobile. Yeah. Woo! Okay, yeah. Yeah, I'm excited. You all right? Are we having a good night so far? Yeah? There we go. Okay. So whenever I was trying to get into Kicks originally, right, I was like, I want to really do a good first impression, right? Like, I really like this organization. I want to get in. How can I make these guys think I'm cool? And, well, background music. Maybe. I didn't know it was a sad story. Okay, so I want to make a good first impression, and I'm like, what can I tell these guys to make them think I'm cool? And I'm like, stand-up comedy, right? So I'm meeting them, and I'm telling each brother, I'm like, they're all like, hey, what are your hobbies? And I'm like, oh, I do stand-up comedy, and they're like, that's awesome. And I'm like, yeah, whatever, right? And then I meet one of our brothers. His name is Juhan. I meet Juhan, and same thing. I walk up to him. I'm like, hey, nice to meet you, whatever. And he's like, so do you have any hobbies? And I go, yeah, I do stand-up comedy. And same response. He goes, oh, that's awesome, that's awesome. You got any Asian jokes? And I look at him. I'm like, is this a trap? And he's like, no, I won't get offended. It's not a trap, I promise. I'm like, this sounds like a trap. I'm not falling for that. But it wasn't a trap. I told him my Asian joke. He liked it. Obviously, I'm up here, right? Okay, let's do some crowd work. We got anybody out here with their cousin? No judgment, judgment-free zone. Okay, well, if you are here with your cousin and you didn't raise your hand, you're smart. I was going to judge you. It's not a judgment-free zone. Okay? Okay, now I'm being serious this time. All jokes aside, I promise. Who came here alone? Okay, there we go. Hey, we've all been there. I've been there. I'm like on the borderline of currently there, right? And I tell people this. I tell people that I'm single, and they're always like, "Oh, no way! How could you possibly be single?" It's mostly guys saying this, but I'm like, hate to break it to y'all, girls aren't usually looking for a guy in comedy, right? Now, dating apps and in person, girls are always all like, oh my God, I love laughing, I love laughter, hashtag funniest person here. And then I'm always like, oh, that's what a coinkadink, I'm a comedian, right? And they're like, oh, that's cool to have as like a hobby. I'm like, oh, well, I want to do it like professionally and for like money. And then they're like, is that a joke? It's not a funny joke. And I'm like, ooh, it just got chilly in here. Like, I feel like you're walking away. Okay. Yeah, but it's tough out here. Being alone sucks. I like how when you're freshly single, right, you got some hope at the beginning, right? You're like, I need a strong, independent woman who loves to laugh. And then a month goes by. And you're like, okay, independent woman. She doesn't have to be strong. She can be weak. I'm weak. Maybe that'll work. And I can always just laugh at myself, right? And then 3 months goes by, and you're just like, okay. I need a woman That's a woman. Yeah, that's what this guy's looking for, right? I haven't experienced myself, but I've heard of it. That 1 year mark of being single comes around, and you get to the point you're like, whoa, who knew so many women were looking to get with me to get in this country? That's crazy, man. Like, this one's actually a woman. Score, right? But yeah, and since it's a dating party, I thought I'd stay on theme, talk a little bit about my love life. Okay? So I have this roommate. Don't worry, he's not part of the love life. Uh, and it's like my first weekend in college, right? And I get invited to a party, but I don't have any friends because nobody came from my town to A&M. And I'm like, roommate, it's like a built-in wingman, right? And so I meet him, I run it by him, I'm like, hey, like, nice to meet you, man. Like, let's go to a party, man, you know, chill, get to know each other, and like maybe pick up some girls. Like, I'll be your wingman, you be my wingman. And he's like, yeah, man, that sounds great, that sounds great. We start getting hyped. He's all like, yeah. I'm like, yeah. And he's all like, I love women. I'm like, I love women too. And he's like, but they kind of scare me. I'm like, what? And he's like, never mind, forget what I said, let's go. That should have been my first red flag. You think that's a joke? No, that was a conversation. Yeah. So we go to this party, and it's slow. We're sitting there, and it's just me and my roommate. The only guys like not talking to any girls. And I'm like, dude, we look gay. And he's like, no, we don't look gay. And I'm like, no, we look like those two guys over there. And he's all like, they're not gay. How could you possibly think it? Oh, I'm like, yeah, that's right. They're kissing. They're gay. I don't want to look like those guys, okay? Sending the wrong signals. And he's like, no, maybe they're just roommates. They're like really close. And I'm all like, whoa, no. I was joking. He didn't say that, but he's giving off that vibe. But yeah, so I see two girls, and they're not talking to anybody. And I'm like, dude, let's go talk to them. And he's all like, I'm not trying to be funny. I'm not like making up voices. I'm not exaggerating. He looks me in the eyes, and he goes, but they're scary. And I'm like, first of all, stop moving your foot. That's weird. And I'm trying to rationalize with him. I'm like, how about this? Let's play rock, paper, scissors, right? If I win, we go talk to the lovely ladies. If you win, I'm kicking your butt because I'm not kissing you like that. And we play rock, paper, scissors. He wins, and I basically bully him into going and talking to these girls, right? We walk over. Now, I just met him. I don't know a lot about him, right? So that's hard to make up pickup lines when you don't know the guy, right? All we have going for us is we walk up and we go, hi, my name's Melvin. This is Bob, right? Now, Bob is already a weird name. Bob's also Mexican. That gives a little head nod usually, right? We walk up and we're like, oh, my name's Melvin, this is Bob. And then like a confused dog, they're like, Bob? And the only thing we've like built on is like, yeah, it's not Bobby or Robert, it's Bob. Just Bob. He's actually a Bob Jr., right? That's all we have. Like, I'm not making it up, that's all we had. Getting a little off topic, Bob Jr. over here wants to name his son Bob the Third, right? And I mean, it's his son. He can, like, his dad was Bob, he was Bob. He can totally name his son Bob, right? But he gets like really serious about it. Like, I remember we were having a conversation. He gets in my face and he's like, Melvin, I'm telling you, if my wife has a problem with me naming my son Bob, I will not allow it. And I said this to his face. I couldn't help it. I'm like, whoa, Bob, let's focus on talking to a girl before we're bossing around your wife and having kids, right? I can already imagine that conversation, like he's acting all big. All like, but Bob's such a good name. And my dad was Bob, and I was Bob. And that's just in the meter. But yeah. So we do this pickup line on these girls, and I'm like, whoa, they're talking back to us. It works. Like it's usually like okay, that's weird. See you later, right? It's weird. They're talking to us, and like we can't believe it. We're like looking at each other. We're all like, can you believe it? I can't believe it. No, we should probably stop talking to each other. We look weird. And then we turn and we talk to them. We're having a good conversation, and then one of the girls, she gets flirty, right? She starts doing that hair curl, right? And she's all like, "So, why'd y'all play rock paper scissors? Was it to see which one of y'all got us?" And in my head, I'm like, "Whoa, that's so much cooler than what actually happened over there." Yeah, like deny. That's what happened. And I'm leaning in to say yes. I'm getting the why out of yes, right? I'm like, yee, and then Bob cuts me off. He's like, "No, we were scared to talk to you." And I have my fair shares of rejection, right? I've shot and it's been blocked, but I've never seen a girl do this before. She goes, "Oh, we gotta go." And you don't have to imagine anything around me. Imagine I'm the woman. She goes, "Oh, we gotta go." And that's all she does. And you're thinking, oh, she like turned around and started talking to other people. There was a wall behind her. She'd rather stare at a wall than talk to Melvin and rock paper loser over here, right? It was rough. It was a rough night. And we learned something, right? Obviously, Bob can't talk to girls. And he should be fired as my wingman. Is what I should have learned. I did not learn. I brought him to a party the very next day. Now, I was thinking maybe he wasn't warmed up. Like he needed to stretch before he like talked to the girls. And I also thought it'd be easier because I was bringing 6 girls that I knew to this party, right? And now these girls, I met them, and we were like having a conversation, and they're like, "Oh my god, like I party way too much, like I get so crazy at parties, like I need to stop." And then I like lean in, I'm like, "You want to party?" And it's just like instantly, they're just like, "Oh my god, yes, finally somebody asked me." I'm like, "Let's say, bring your friends, right?" Drive home, I'm lecturing Bob. I'm like, "Bob, don't mess this up for us, man. We got 6 girls coming with us. It should be an easy night, right?" We show up to the party, and the one thing I have learned is Bob can't talk to women. So I'm like, let's just talk to the guys, have a good time, just have a chill night, right? And it goes good. But the thing about this party is that there's a lot of like stereotypical frat guys. Like, hey, you want to get with this? Of course you want to get with this. Yeah, right? There's a lot of that running around the party. And so the girls don't want to hang out with that. And the only not like guys there are me and Bob. So something magical happens. Those 6 girls, each one of them talked to like 3 more girls. So me and Bob have like 20 girls just circling us. And you're like, dang, those are some players. Yeah, no. There was no doubt in my mind that we were there for friendship. Yeah, no, we knew what was up. We were just hanging, having a good time with these 20 girls. And then a song hits the dance floor, right? It starts playing. And I don't know what came over Bob. Like he sensed it, like the stars aligned. He's in the middle of the dance floor, 20 girls around him, and he just starts hitting the stinkiest of stinky things. Right? Oh yeah, yeah. Oh yeah. But I'm sitting there I'm like on the sideline, I'm like, Bob, you're embarrassing me. Stop. And then all of a sudden, 20 girls. Go Bob. Go Bob. Go Bob. Go Bob. Go Bob. And it's going crazy, man. We got 20 girls bouncing up and down. Go Bob. Go Bob. Frat guys, they like start lining in the outer. They're confused. They're all like, go Bob. Don't know you, but the girls like you. Go Bob. Right? I start getting into it. Like the girls are like, go Bob, go Bob. I hop in and I'm like, go Bob. They usually say that to go to the other direction, go Bob. Right? It was a crazy night. And you're like, wow, that was awesome. What a way to end a night. Sadly, we did not end our night there. I thought we had our priorities straight and was like, that was awesome. Let's head out before Bob messes it up, right? And I'm walking. And then I feel a tug on my shirt. And I'm like, what is going on? Right? And I turn around and it's Bob. And I'm like, you okay? And Bob is holding onto my shirt, going, just keep me safe, Melvin, just keep me safe. And I'm like, oh, what? Get off me. I'm like, what happened? He's like, don't ask questions, just keep me safe. Go, Bob, go, Bob, go, Bob. It was a weird night. That's how that night ended. And Bob's been fired, don't worry. I learned my lesson. I recently lost 30 pounds. Thank you. Thank you. But yeah, so I lost 30 pounds ago, right? I didn't have like a gaggle of girls, but I had like 2 girls that I could be like, hey, you want to like consensually watch a movie? And if you're like, whoa, what a player, I meant watch a movie. That's what I meant. I had 2 girls I could be like, hey, you want to go watch a movie or something, right? And then I lost my 30 pounds, and I was like, bring it on, man, bring the women, right? I now have 0 women. I lost the 30 pounds, and I don't know what happened. And I started asking, like, close personal friends. I was like, do I look threatening? And they're like, no, what do you mean? What do you mean you look threatening? I've noticed while I'm like just living life, women have started holding their purses and looking me up and down and walking away. I'm like, what's going on? Like, and it kept happening and kept happening. And I was like, what's like, I'm not doing anything weird. And it got to a point where I was like, oh my God, like, is my penis out? Like, did I think to tuck it today? Like, no, he's tucked. I don't understand. I don't know what's going on. But yeah, ever since then, I know I've really been hitting the Twinkies hard, trying to get that non-threatening 30 back. Yeah. Let's get back on topic, right? Let's back to my dating life. So I don't know if you know this, but Melvin is traditionally an African American name. Now, if you're all like, how is this talking about your dating life? No, it's a slow build. We'll get there, right? But yeah, you might be like, hey, Melvin, how do you know Melvin is traditionally an African American name? It's because my whole life I've been told I've never met a white Melvin before. And I'm like, I meet him every day, man. Look in the mirror. I'm like, hey, white Melvin, what's going on? Right? No. And I remember the first time this ever happened to me, I was in 3rd grade, right? We had some field day going on, and there was like a special visitor. And the special visitor was the mayor of our small town, right? I thought it was stupid. I'm like, you're telling me adults sat down and they're like talking to each other. They're like, what's one thing the 3rd graders really like? Small town politics. Let's get them out there, right? They're our biggest voter turnout. You know, 3rd graders are always at the polls. But yeah, so we're sitting there, and this huge event is just us standing in a line and shaking his hand. That's the event, right? So we're sitting there, and there's 2 kids in front of me, and I'm watching, right? The first girl goes up, and he's like, hey, honey, what's your name? She's like, my name's Susan. And he's like, oh, Susan's a beautiful name. Like, make sure you tell your parents to vote for me, and then shakes your hand. It's like, next kid, right? Next kid goes up, he's like, my name's Tommy, right? Shakes his hand, oh, that's a great name. Tell your parents to vote for me, next kid. And then I go up, and he's like, what's your name? And I go, Melvin, sir. And he grabs my hand, and I'm sitting there, and he's like, not doing anything. It's been like 5 seconds. At this point, we're holding hands. And I was just all like, yeah, this is fun. Like, shouldn't I be telling my parents to vote for you by now? Are you gonna hurt me? And I'm sitting there, and then after he finally breaks the silence, and he just goes, oh, I've never met a white Melvin before. That kid. And I was just like, white Melvin, that kid. Oh, the Melvins I know are white. But yeah, and weird stuff happens to me because like of my name, right? For example, I once got drafted to a all-black baseball team. Now, stay with me, okay? The person in charge of this was a man of the name Juju. Now, okay, Juju, great guy. I actually ended up like seeing him a lot through my life. He was the stepdad of a close friend of mine. Love Juju. Juju, a little context on Juju. He's our town drunk. But a good drunk. I've never seen this guy not smiling. He got elected into our government. Like, it's crazy. I don't know how, but I love this guy. I remember I was a shy kid. I would show up to my friend's house, and I'd walk in, I'd open the door, and he'd be like, yo, Melvin, what's going on, man? And I'd be all like, it's just going on. It goes. Yeah. And he'd be like, that's awesome, man, get on in there. And I'd go hang out with my friend, right? And I'd sit there. Now, because he drank so much, he had short-term memory. So he would forget I was there. And then he would come to my friend's room, have a conversation, and then be like, hey, yo, Melvin, when'd you get here? And I'd be like, yeah, not too long ago, Juju. Not too long ago. He was getting me out of my shell, right? I wasn't, like, he gave me courage to speak up. And then he'd leave, and then he'd come back, forget I was there. And by the way, friend, he hated this. I remember he would walk in, and again, forget it. He's like, yo, Melvin, when'd you be here? How long you been here? I'd look at my friend. He'd be like, don't do it. Ignore him. I'm like, I'm going to do it. And I look at Juju, I'm like, yo, I've been out here for a minute, Juju. I've been out here for a minute. I love you, man. Right? It was fun. I love Juju. Now, the thing about the baseball team, what they were trying to do was they were trying to make a baseball team where young black males had older black males that they can look up to as role models, right? And what Juju did was he looked at the list of kids and he was like, black kid, Melvin. Don't know him? Black kid. Black kid, right? That's what he did. Now, I showed up to practice, and my parents sent me to the dugout. And, of course, Juju's like, okay, black kid, woo. Worn out. I need to go see what's up with that. And he goes and he talks to me, and, like, bless his soul, he's trying to leave race out of it, right? He's trying to not bring up race immediately. So he's like, hey, bud, I think you're in the wrong place. Where's your parents? We're the only team on the field. We're an all-black baseball team. You know where my parents are. Right there. Right? And me, I was young, right? So I didn't know what he was trying to do. He was trying to keep race out of it. So I was like, the white people wearing camo. And he's like, okay, let's go talk to them. We go talk to them, right? And Juju explains everything to my parents. My parents are like, oh, yeah, that makes sense. But since there's no other teams, is it okay if he practices for today and then you can put him on whatever team? It doesn't matter. We don't care. And Juju was like, oh, that's cool. That's okay, right? And this is embarrassing. He lets me practice, and I go out and I do the one thing that I know how to do, which is hit absolute piss missiles to the outfield, right? So I'm out there looking like a stud, right? And then Juju pops out of the dugout. He goes to my parents. He's like, yeah, we're going to keep your white boy. He's on the team. And my parents are like, cool, great. That sounds great. And I'm still practicing. I'm on the other side of the field. And my parents are like, since we're on the same team, we should introduce each other now, right? And he's like, yeah, no, that sounds great. My mother walks out. He's like, hi, I'm his mother, Cynthia. My dad comes out. He's like, I'm his father, Robert. My grandfather was there for some reason. My grandfather walks out. And he's like, I'm his grandfather, Melvin. That's the guy I'm named after. And I'm on the other side of the field. And all I hear is, 2 white Melvins in one day? That's ridiculous. And Juju's losing it, man. He's like, 2 white Melvins? Who? Like, I was like, black kid, black kid, but he's a white kid. And he's going crazy. And that's like just like the iceberg of like stuff that happens to me because of my name. Like for example, I see racism sometimes. Now, this is everyone. Okay. Now, when I say I see racism, I don't mean I can experience racism a day in my life. I'm not saying I can understand how it is to walk the shoes in a black man, right? I can never understand what it means to be a black man, right? What I'm saying is, like somebody hears my name and doesn't know, White Melvin, right? They don't know White Melvin's Melvin, right? They hear Melvin and they're like, I'm like, racist. He didn't like that. I see stuff like that. For example, I was talking to this girl. Yeah, see, I'm back on dating. I'm back on the love life. There you go. I'm talking to this girl, and she hasn't introduced me to her parents yet. And we're texting. It's during Christmas time, right? Her little sister runs behind her, sees my name pop up, and she's like, ooh, Melvin, who's Melvin? And she's like, you caught me. It's the guy I'm talking to. Remember, it's Christmas, so all our family's there. Uncle, grandfather, dad, all at the same time. Not my niece, not my granddaughter, not my daughter, right? They're losing it. They're going crazy. And she pops up. She's fuming, right? And she's all like, that's disgusting. That's unacceptable. He is white, but it shouldn't matter. And she comes to me and she tells me this. And she's like, don't worry, that's disgusting, Melvin. Like, don't worry, I taught them a lesson. And I was like, no, you didn't. She's like, what do you mean? I'm like, you wanted to teach them a lesson. You tell them I was black. A little context here, okay? I can see I'm losing y'all. This girl was a dancer, right? So she would go to recitals, right? I don't know if you know this. I'm not black, right? Reveal. But yeah, I'm not black, right? And so I would have to go to these recitals, and so would the parents, right? So I'd go sit down next to the parents. They're not expecting me, right? I'd sit down with the parents. The dad sitting there like, Melvin. My daughter's dating a Melvin. I'd pop up and I'd be like, Melvin Evans? He's like, yeah, do you know him? I'm like, yeah, I play football with him. He's a real good guy. Great guy to have in the locker room, you know what I mean? Real huge heart, really real ginormous personality. Yeah, real good guy. Big penis though, yeah. And that's how you teach them a lesson. So, how y'all feeling so far? Y'all having fun? Yeah? Okay. Are y'all ready to get into the last joke? Okay, let's get into the last. I promise it's less risky. Okay. So, I go to class, and it's an exam day, right? And I walk in, and on the board, it says A through KIP, K-I-P, NA, K-N-A, through Z. And I'm like, is that like Roman numerals or something? Like, I thought those were dashes. It's not looking right? And I sit down, I'm like, what's she gonna talk about this, right? And she's like talking about the exam, and she's like, finally, she's all like, okay, I'm sure you're all wondering, what's behind me. I'm like, oh, yeah, very confused. And she goes, it's the alphabet. Now, whenever you come up, take your test, you're going to go find if you're A through Kit and O through Z, you're going to come up here and pick your name. I'm like, whoa, hold up. Last time I checked, the ABCs weren't A, B, C, Kit, N, Z, D. Like, no, that's not what I remember. I was losing it. Like, last time I spelled my name, it was M-E-L, not M-Kit-L-V-I. No. This girl's crazy. She's like, right. And then she goes, do you have any questions? And I'm like, I've got a few. Right? And everybody raises their hand. I'm like, yeah, guys, let's give it to her. Doesn't know the alphabet. Right? And then they call the guy right next to me. And I'm like, yeah, give it to her, brother. And he puts his hand down. He gets all serious. I think he's about to talk about the alphabet. But then he goes, so you brought up Form 198-789. Now, in the current Texas political system, how would that implement compared to federal government? And I'm looking at him. I'm just like, I can't follow the alphabet. I, B, C, K. Like, I can't follow that. So I put my hand down, and now I'm stressing. I'm like, I don't know where my test goes. I'm freaking out. I'm like, everybody seems to know except for me. And I'm taking my test, and I notice there's some like commotion over at the table, and there's a guy supervising it, and I'm not the only one confused. He's sitting there, and he's getting mad. He's like, over there. A through Kip, over there. A, B, C, Kip, you're dumb, over there. Right? And I'm like, oh, thank God, it's not just me. But I finished my test, and I still have to pick a line. And I'm sitting there, and I'm like, okay. Okay, so my last name is Evans. That's an E. E's before K, but is it before Kip, or is it after Kip? I'm a Kip. And I proudly walk over, and I get in the Kip line. There's 3 people in front of me. First guy, idiot, over there. And I'm like, ooh, I'm not feeling as proud as this decision anymore. Next kid, you're dumb, over there. Next kid comes up, over there, right? And it's my turn. And I'm scared. And I pull out my ID, and I just like, and then I hear, thank God. I'm like, huh? And he's like, finally, somebody knows A through Kip. Like, way to go, man. And I'm looking at him, I'm just like, yeah! These idiots over here don't know Kip. ABC Kip. Come on, man. I'm like, give it to me, yeah. And then I look down, and immediately I'm like, oh. There's 3 lists. All the names are in small print. I can't see very well. I look down, and I'm like, Evans, where are you? And I look up at him, he's like cheek to cheek smiling. I'm like, I look smiling again. I'm like, okay, I gotta make a decision. I grab the pen, and I'm like, and he goes, right there. I'm like, see you later, kid. And I head out, right? And I'm like, this is crazy, man. Like, what happened? Like, what was that? I gotta tell somebody about that. So I call up one of my friends. I'm like, girl, dude, you need to get over here. Like, I got the craziest story to tell you. And she comes over, and I tell her the story. And I notice when I'm telling this story, 0 laughs. Looks at me like I'm an idiot. And then I'm like, dude, like, that's not the alphabet. You should be confused right now. And she looks at me, she's like, you're stupid. I'm like, how am I stupid? You're stupid, right? And then she goes, obviously, there's 2 Indian kids in the middle of your class. And I'm like, whoa, that's insensitive. And she's like, no, listen, there's 2 kids that obviously their last name starts with K-I-P and Na, K-N-A, and that's where she split the list. Now, the thing about our friendship is that we don't really like it when the other one's right. So I'm sitting there and I'm deny. I'm like, no, you're stupid. It's ABC Kip. You're dumb. Right? And she's like, dude, you're so stupid. I can't believe you didn't know what's going on. I was like, no. Last time I checked, you did spell your name J. Kip Clark. The funny part of that, that's her real name. That's how I'm getting my revenge. And I'm telling her this, right? And I'm like, I tell her the joke, and she's like, dude, don't use my real name. And I'm like, wouldn't dare. Totally would not use your name. Jade Clark. Jade Clark. Jade Clark. Wouldn't I use your name, Jade Clark? And then I tell her the joke, and she's like, no, please. She could tell, obviously, I'm going to say her real name. And she's like, whatever you do, don't do the joke where you explain it's my real name. And I'm like, gotcha. That's my time. Thank you.